Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Can I Borrow Your Car podcast. And this is a more sales oriented episode, maybe a nice break from the interviews or just change pace. But I want to talk to you about Little House on the Prairie, right? So winter's coming. Have you filled your sales pipeline, your ideal client pipeline? And I'm not just talking about Westeros here. I'm talking about sales. And here's the challenge. When you are a full-time professional advisor, whether you are doing financial planning, investment management, you're CPA, you're an attorney, you're a business consultant coach, you're an M&A or investment banking, you know how hard it is for you to consistently market while you are servicing a successful business. And I get it. It's challenging, right? I'm in that position myself. I've got a nice roster of clients. I love working with them, but I also know that at any moment things can change. And when you aren't working with 100 or 200 clients, and instead you're working with less than 10, you lose a client, you notice it, and you especially notice it the next month. And so here's the deal. How do we understand this? Well, let's get back to it. You're juggling your clients and you're trying to figure out how to keep your business going. You're looking at your team and all these things, and you're saying to yourself, I'll get around to it. Well, that doesn't work in sales, and it doesn't work in other things as well, right? So here's the deal. Racky is absolutely my greatest business mentor and a huge person, a big part of my journey to faith in Christ. Art was the franchise owner for Business Network International in Northern Virginia, parts of DC, I think DC, and all of Virginia, actually. I ended up working for him, loved it. And Art was like, hey, man, did you know that Little House on the Prairie has some of the world's greatest training on networking and referrals? And I was like, no. And then he hit me with Farmer Boy. Farmer Boy was a story about Laura Ingalls' husband who grew up in upstate New York. And he said, Mike, what do you think the most important thing to do during the summer is when you know you're going to have a big winter? And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, chop wood, right? So when you think about sales, when you think about prospecting, client acquisition, whatever you want to call it, no matter what marketing activity you're doing, the goal should always be to ensure that you have a big enough wood pile of qualified, identified people that are ideal prospects for you, or at the very least, decent prospects. This becomes even more important when you've got a team of producers, whether you're running a more traditional type firm where you've got some senior partners that are rainmakers, or whether you are a financial advisor or you own your own RIA and you've got 15 different advisors that are full-time and that are growing the practice, right? So whatever that is, it's really important to make sure that you've got enough wood because winter is coming. Like there have been so many different things, but I'll give you a great example. A ton of businesses went out of business in 2020 or shortly thereafter because of COVID. COVID was a great example of a storm that we really couldn't predict and that people that were not prepared really, really suffered, right? They didn't have wood piles. They didn't have resilient businesses and especially didn't have resilient marketing and sales channels. And so some of that wasn't their fault. Like, you couldn't predict being a non-essential business, right? And then watching other businesses that do the same thing you do that just maybe had better access to lobbyists be able to stay in business. That's neither here nor there. The deal is this. If you've got a full pipeline of people that you've identified that you know you could potentially do business with, you got options. And that's what this is all about. So here's the deal. How do we do this, right? Well, here's some challenges. When you're a professional advisor, trust is the name of the game. It's the coin of the realm. And it takes time to build trust. It's so challenging when you are running a full-time advisory business to try and figure out how to have consistent marketing time. And that's really, really why Can I Borrow Your Car, my most recent book, should be a kind of a handbook for you about how to do this, because you have to be able to align and integrate two different concepts, two principles into your client acquisition process to take advantage of building a woodpile. The first is you have to have a macro strategy. A macro, in my opinion, from my book, is about small little activities or actions that you can add into what you're already doing without disrupting it. So for example, client meetings. annual reviews, you name it, check-ins, little macro strategies. The most common is I love referrals and how can I help you? A giving strategy, not a getting strategy. But those macro strategies, those are things that you can do all the time, and you don't have to stop what you're doing, take some cognitive load, and think about how you're going to go prospect. This is what kills people. It's like all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're like, shit, I need to grow my business. What do I do? And you get on the internet or you start thinking about it, and there's too many options. So a little macro strategy like I love referrals, how I can help you. If you don't know what to do, do that. The next client, ask them how you can help, right? Give. Then there's MicroStrategy, and MicroStrategies are not things that you do every day, every week, or every month. MicroStrategies are where we're adding lots of wood to the wood pile in one fell swoop. These are what I call harvesting activities. So if you think about it, you don't harvest the field every day. You let the crop grow, you let the woods grow, and you take what you need all at the end of the season. And so I want you to think about this when it comes to the wood pile. When you're a serious business professional, I find without exception that it's much more effective for you to work deep with key referral relationships intermittently, meaning a half day once a quarter, a half day semi-annually, and gather lots of wood, right? Lots of potential relationships in one fell swoop. You stack them on the wood pile. You don't burn them right away, because here's the thing. If you're one of my key sources, I don't have time to introduce you to 50 people today, but if you're important to me, I've got time to sit down and identify as many people as I know that you would like to meet, agree that I'm willing to introduce you, and then put them out on the wood pile to season. Then when you need them, you can call me instead of, hey, Mike, I need to grow my business. Can you help me out? It's, hey, Mike, do you have a little bit of time this week to potentially introduce me to one of the people we talked about earlier? And I'm like, okay, it's a yes or a no. I either get time or I don't. Like, hey, I'm traveling to Europe. No. You know what? Actually, I got some time. You know, Mike, I was thinking, what about Joe? Joe over at ABC Hardware. Would that be somebody you'd be comfortable talking about? And now, instead of trying to figure out how to market, we are identifying which pre-identified, predetermined, pre-agreed upon introductions are most appropriate, most comfortable, most effective in the moment. This will change your life. I do facilitated workshops around this concept with clients of mine where we are literally bringing all their COIs into a room with their key referral sources, and I'm facilitating harvesting basically a year's worth of ideal client introductions in one day. Now, a couple things to think about with this. Remember, Can I Borrow Your Car is about risk mitigation. So we are always about protecting the relationship. We're always about enhancing the value of the cars that we're borrowing. How does that affect here? Well, the biggest problem that people have when they're doing prospecting by referrals, they're looking for instant sales, right? So they're looking for the hardest thing in the world to create. This is why fabulous salespeople get paid incredible amounts of money, because they're able to do something quickly that other people can't. And the reality is it's not quick. There's all kinds of work. There's research, there's preparation, you name it, follow through. So instead of trying to do that, let's be realistic. How many times, if you're a professional advisor or even just a business owner, you own a contracting firm or a retail shop, how many times, if you've met an ideal client socially, how many times are you able to then end up having as a client? And it's a lot more than people you've never met, right? Point being, if you know who you want to work with, which is your job, not mine, but if you know who you want to work with and we can figure out who they are by name, if I know them, I can far easier, far faster get you to be introduced to them in a less transactional meeting, meaning not a pitch. I can get you to go have a beer. We can go fly fishing. We can even go have some coffee and just do an introduction. If you're patient, which all safe drivers are, if you're patient, what we can do, and we're thinking long game here because there's no shortcuts, what would your business be like? You ready? professional advisor, and let's just say 100, you could identify 100 target business owners that you would love to work with. What would it be like if you knew who knew them, that those people had already agreed to introduce you? And remember, they can introduce you multiple times. Maybe it's a social introduction first, and then a couple weeks later, it's like, hey, what'd you think of that Mike guy? I thought he was kind of a cool dude. Oh yeah, I was thinking about maybe giving him a call, but I got distracted. Well, you want me to set up another meeting? Right? So you can layer referrals just like all professional salespeople do. No one's walking in there and crushing a huge deal in one meeting. And if you are, it was a complete fluke, right? By the way, luck happens and I love it, but I can't predict it. So here's the thing. Think about it. Get introductions to those 100 people. Get connected to them somehow, ideally with no risk, right? Now you and your referral source have had success. The ideal client prospect is aware of who you are, and start working your way down within the buyer's journey of your ideal client prospect to the point where they want to meet with you. There's a whole bunch more to this, of course, right? Making sure that you've got collateral out there on the internet, making sure that you're AI friendly, because even when you do referrals, don't forget, like, that wood has got to agree to walk into your house, right? It's not passive. The wood gets to decide if it goes on the fire and creates a transaction and a relationship too. Like, it's got to vote. So this isn't something that you control, like the almighty. All this being said, here's the deal. We talk about this a lot in the Exit Planning Institute. There's killer D's, right? Death, disability, divorce, you name it. All things do not conspire or even aspire to your benefit, right? The economy doesn't care about you. A lot of the people you think care about you probably don't care about you as much as you'd like them to. Let's be protective. And if you're a professional advisor, one of the greatest things you can do to enhance your business right now and to be prepared to have options, good options when times are great, and options that save your keister when times are not, it's having a full identified prospecting pipeline. Let's go ahead and build the wood pile. Let's go ahead and make this happen. The deal is this. I want you to go, and instead of thinking of everyone that could potentially help you, I want you to write down the top 5 names. Because the most important thing in referrals, and actually in sales, quite frankly, is people that will help you, people that will meet with you, people that will buy from you. Now, people who can, that's where we start. That's the big pool. But if you want to be successful, you have to be better at figuring out who will. Anyways, have an incredible day. Get serious. Read the book, Can I Borrow Your Car, if you haven't. And most importantly, let us know what you think. Give us a like, give us a comment, share it with some people. We've always got time to help.